number 2. Anything further beside the 2 additions? All right, thank you very much. We can go to the presentations now. We have a presentation regarding the Vaal intervention. We have, my apologies, I've forgotten the name of the person who's supposed to present, but I'll just leave the platform. Yes.
Victor DeWet from GIBB.
Okay, Vic DeWet. Okay, thank you very much. You can continue with the presentation, sir.
Will do. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Can you let me know when the presentation is visible on your side?
Not yet. Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just an interesting slide to start off the presentation. At the top is what we're sitting with. At the bottom is what we would like to achieve in terms of our infrastructure. And I'm going to proceed with the presentation. This is a presentation about the Sedibeng Regional Sanitation Scheme. As I said, my name is Victor DeWet, and this will address the refurbishment and upgrade program. Now, this program looks at 4 legs for implementation. The number 1 is to look at health and safety on the left-hand side, doing unblocking and level control to ensure that people have got reasonable living conditions, because we found that the toilets were overflowing with sewage and there was sewage in the people's yards and urban. So there's there is a program out for biosolids handling and unblocking of sewers. The second leg is looking at refurbishment to restore the functionality of the existing infrastructure. The third leg looks at upgrades, upgrade the existing infrastructure so that it has sufficient capacity for growth and for the current situation as well, because some of the infrastructure are overloaded. And then also looking at operation and maintenance to look after the infrastructure. The presentation structure will look at number 1, the Sedibeng Regional Sewage Scheme Overview. Future upgrades done by, there are 3 consultants busy in the area as GIBB, Zutari, and Rasamati. Number 3, the refurbishment program done by GIBB and Sigodi Maramartin. And 4, just mentioning the biosolids and unblocking. Then 5, looking at some financials. 6, showing you the master schedule of implementation, and then looking at the way forward. Okay, the areas that we are looking at is the Sebokeng Catchment, Leeuwkuil Catchment, and the Rietspruit Catchment. If we look at the scheme, the planned scheme, what we are planning to do, we are, and on the left we've got the Leeuwkuil Catchment. In the center, we've got the Rietspruit Catchment, and on the right, we've got the Sebokeng Catchment. Now, the current situation in Leeuwkuil is that the Leeuwkuil Catchment generates about 32.4 megaliters a day. The future planned for is 70 megaliters a day. Now, the Leeuwkuil wastewater treatment works, the existing works has got a capacity of 20 megaliters per day. That needs to be refurbished. The existing wastewater treatment works activated sludge plant can treat the wastewater to the required effluent standards. The biofilter system, unfortunately, can't do denitrification nor phosphate removal. And also the infrastructure is in very bad condition, and to spend money on the at the start of the works, there's anaerobic digesters that are structurally failing, and it's got a huge cost to it. So we would like to focus our efforts on putting the infrastructure in place that will treat the water to the right standards. Now, after refurbishment, the planned upgrade for Leeuwkuil is another 20 megaliters, pushing it to 40 megaliters a day. Whilst this whole the treatment work has been capped at 50 megaliters per day. If we look at the process parameters, we can push this works to about 48 megaliters per day. So if you look at what is planned for you, it won't be able to handle the 70. That's why we're looking at a transfer pump station scheme that will transfer sewage, the current flow of 12.9, future flow of 22 to the Rietspruit catchment. Now, looking at the Rietspruit catchment, the current flow of that catchment is almost standing at 40 megaliters per day. Future flows in the period is 42.1. What is planned for Rietspruit also has a 20 megaliter activated sludge and a 16 megaliter trickling filter plant. We're not looking at the trickling filter plant, but the upgrade that is planned for Rietspruit is first a 35 megaliter per day activated sludge plant, and then adding to that another 15, which takes the total plant capacity up to 70 megaliters. With the transfer scheme, we're looking at a future flow of 64.1 that goes to the Rietspruit wastewater treatment works. Then thirdly, looking at the Leeuwkuil catchment, the current capacity after the module 6 has been implemented is 150 megaliters per day. Current flow to the Leeuwkuil treatment works is from the catchment is 150, so they're basically there. But another 50 megaliters per day is planned. That will be module 7, done by Zutari. That will render the works to have a capacity of 200 megaliters per day. Then moving on, this is just a view of the upgrades that are planned. If you look in the Leeuwkuil area, the blue lines there are the main gravity lines already designed and documentation ready to go out for tender. Then the Rietspruit catchment, the blue lines, you can see I'll discuss the details now, are the gravity lines. The red line is a rising main, and then the pump station 41 in that area. And then for the Leeuwkuil catchment, there are a few. Leeuwkuil catchment is very dependent on pump stations to get the sewage to the treatment works. Main pump stations pumping to the inlet works is pump station 34, which takes the sewage from this area. Pump station 2 covers this area with its pump stations, and then pump station 4, this area pumping to here. You can see pump station 4 will be the transfer pump station, transferring the sewage to this gravity line and going to the Rietspruit wastewater treatment works. Now, for the Leeuwkuil catchment, the designs for the upgrades included the new 20 megaliter per day activated sludge wastewater treatment works, a new pump station 34, which is at the works, which is a screw pump station with 3 Archimedes screws, each capable of handling 500 liters a second. So there's 2 new to 1 standby, so it will be able to handle 1,000 liters a second, looking at future development as well in that area. Then we've also did a new design for the upgrades of pump station 5, 10, 2, and 4, which are the critical pump stations. And then Gravity main 4 and 12 was also identified as needing an upgrade. And then the gravity main to pump station 2, which links pump station 10 to 2, also needed an upgrade. That pipe collapsed completely. Okay, as I said, all designs are completed and design reports are in. Just to show you a visual of the wastewater treatment works at Leeuwkuil, the upgrade, as I've stated, pump station 34. This is pump station 34, the screw pumps. Pipeline 12 coming from the northwest comes down here and basically will go into this pump station. It will lift it up and then it will be able to gravity feed to here or to the new inlet works here, and the operators can choose how much sewage will go to this works and how much sewage will go to this works at a point here. All the pump stations will also, that pump to the treatment works, will also pump to a splitter box at the top of the screw pump station so that the flows can be equally divided or as and when required for operation and maintenance. The new wastewater treatment works includes a head of works, an inlet works with the odor control building here. That then basically goes to the BNR, biological nutrient removal reactor. This reactor can handle 5 different processes to address the characteristic sewage that will come to the wastewater treatment works by changing the recycles and flows and so on. I can't go into detail, but it'll carry on a bit long. Then it goes to a splitter box here, which then divides to the 4 new secondary settling tanks. This then goes to the ultraviolet disinfection with chlorine contact tank backup system here. Also, this is the waste-activated sludge dewatering facility for both plants, as well as the ultraviolet disinfection will be also for the 40 megaliters in the end. We also have designed a drainage pump station so that the operators on site can empty any of the main structures, including the reactor from the old plant, because it's going to need a maintenance. When we commission this plant, drain it and pump it to the top of the RAS screw pump station, which then gravity feeds back to the start of the reactor. Okay. Secondly, this is the conveyance system that we have looked at. As I've said, the blue lines are the gravity mains, the red, the rising mains, and you can see the dots for the pump stations. The Leeuwkuil wastewater treatment works sits here. The main pump station 2, which covers the whole east area of the treatment of the catchment, to get that wastewater into the works, basically needs a new rising main. This is the gravity line from pump station 10's discharge that goes to pump station 2. Then pump station 5's rising main to pump station 10. Pump station 8 also hasn't been designed. That's why it's not there. There's a gravity line going to pump station 2 from the top here in there. Pump station 7, 8, 9, and 3 pumps currently into it. A few changes that we've made in the overall design. Pump station 3 going to that line, saving an energy cost of about 10 meters over its design life. Yeah, I'll go into a little bit more detail of that in the refurbishment. Then next slide. If we look at the Rietspruit catchment, the Rietspruit catchment, sorry, I can't see any hands. If you guys put up hands, if someone can just stop me if there's questions. Apologies for that. Then if we look at the Rietspruit catchment, the Rietspruit catchment has a wastewater treatment works capacity upgrade of 50 megaliters planned in 2 phases, 35 and then a 15. Secondly, the existing 20 megaliter per day plant optimization design's already done. That needed another secondary settling tank, a RAS screw pump station, and a waste-activated sludge a pumping system as well. Then also pump station 41, which is the river pump station. Its rising main also not big enough. The upgrade, this pump station currently is pulling a lot of resources in terms of operation and maintenance, constantly having to look at it. Documentation is in, looking to finalize the budgets and going out to tender, but this pump station will pump to the northern gravity line towards Rietspruit, which I did show in the beginning, but we can go through it again. Then there's a gravity lines that are needed upgrading, which is gravity line number 16, 17, 19, 21, and 22. If you look at these, this is the 50 megaliter wastewater treatment works for Rietspruit that we have looked at. We've got the main inlet works, which is a 70 megaliter per day inlet works, because the current inlet works we're basically going to scrap. That's a single channel, which is not very effective. So you have a single control of the main inflow coming into the works with 100% redundancy on the channels that have been designed in terms of screenings and grit removal, and then also fats, oils, and greases removal to make sure that we condition the sewage for longevity of the mechanical equipment in the rest of the plant. We've also allowed hydraulically for primary settling tanks, but currently the characteristic sewage doesn't show that we need the PSTs. The COD load coming in is about 500 to 600 milligrams per liter, sometimes at 200 because of the dilution of the COD and the night flows. But for PSTs and effective use of them, you basically will need more digesters, which is also a cumbersome process. So you're just moving the treatment of the sludge, the primary settled sludge, to an additional process on the side, whilst the low COD can be effectively handled in the reactors. And also you need the energy of the COD to remove your phosphates effectively in your UCT, modified UCT processes and so on. To give you an idea, if I do primary settling, the phosphate levels raises from about 0.1 or 0.2 milligrams per liter to 7 if I do primary settling. So we've identified these not to be used currently, but for upgrade of the capacity and future, it can be considered to build those PSTs. Then also these reactors can handle any of the 5 processes except the 5-stage Baden flow that cannot be incorporated. The others are all incorporated. It's the Johannesburg process, the MLE, the UCT, modified UCT, and the 3-phase Forodox. Then we've got the clarifiers. This is the clarifiers or secondary settling tanks that are required for the 35. This is the further 15 megaliter upgrade over here. The dewatering facility, mechanical dewatering belt presses are situated in at this point. The drying bed or the further drying bed area is sitting here. We will reclaim this area where the oxidation ditch is. Then our emergency peak overflow is this little pond here. And then the chlorine contact tank sits here with UV disinfection here. Again, this disinfection facility is for the 70 megaliters for both this plant and the future plant. Admin building sits around about here and so on. Now for the existing plant, the dark lines are basically indicating the refurbishment of the works in terms of correct use of the process. The recycle was going to the start of the aerobic reactor, where in fact over the years this retention dam at the start round structure has changed to part of the reactor. So your return activated sludge must go in at the anoxics or at the start of the plant. This is a Forodox process. three-stage Forodox, and it goes in at the start. This is for denitrification and the return activated sludges to get the bugs through to there. Just want to see. Yeah. Then the waste activated sludge. This is the new pump station situated next to the second SST. That will pump to the sludge ponds in the beginning until the new treatment works has been constructed. That line will then be diverted. There's the box. We just connect there and we're off to the new dewatering building. Just a little bit of more of a close-up of the existing works. Then this is the layout for the bulk upgrades planned for the Rietspruit catchment. Now, the Van der Bijl area, this whole area here, basically gravity feeds to the gravity line here, which goes to pump station 41 here, and this one as well. The original rising main for pump station 41 was going through the highly dense area and through gas lines over the R59. And there's a lot of encroachments of buildings over this servitude lines and so on. So it was going to be a very difficult task to get that. We did go through that exercise. Also, the undulations, the up and down of this rising main would have caused a much bigger surge tank that needed to be installed there. We subsequently found that the vertical alignment of this rising main, the profile, has got a low point and a high point with a few undulations in. If it goes from here to here, there's a high point here that causes a bit of negative pressures that could result in high maintenance as well, or that will result. So we've looked at this, the way leaves, the profile, the flywheel on the pump station, and the pressure surge tank in there, much more effective for the longevity of this pump station. Also then, this gravity line, new line, can also cater for development from the northwestern side that will basically drain into this pipeline. Then looking at pump station 4, which is in the Leeuwkuil catchment, that's the transfer pump station situated there, that will basically take this area, which is closer to Rietspruit, and then pump it into the same stilling box which pump station 41 is pumping into. Okay. As I've said, this pump station is giving a lot of problems, and we want to get that going as soon as possible. Although it is still operational, there's a lot of operational maintenance required. Then looking at the Sebokeng catchment, looking at pipeline D, B, D, E, F, and G, we've done the designs ready for the upgrades. If you look at this is the Sebokeng wastewater treatment works. Pipeline F is what's going to drain the sewage from Savannah City here, excuse me, in the north. Currently a problem, need to refurbish that line as soon as possible. It has been moved forward due to that point. Then also apparently we're now looking at future 14,000 urban coming into pipeline D. That design needs to be re-looked at. It was a 1 meter diameter gravity sewer. It's now going to go up to maybe a 1.2, but we're assessing again because that new development wasn't on the cards at the time of the design. So we're re-looking at that pipeline. So this is pipeline D, E, G, and F. This pipeline is another consultant, is not part, but we are making sure that we keep everything in sequence. We will look at that. Then this is pipeline B, also coming to the Sebokeng wastewater treatment works. The Sebokeng wastewater treatment works is done by Zutari. I did mention at the start that the Sebokeng wastewater treatment works recently have commissioned module 6. It's operational. There's a few things that still has to be looked at in terms of module 3, 4, and 5. Also needs to be fully functional in terms of refurbishment budgets and stuff are being made available to sort that out. And then the upgrade of module 7, which will render it a 200 megaliter wastewater treatment works plant. Then, as I've said, Zutari just explained this one, module 6 and 7. Then Rasamati engineers are looking at the Rietspruit outfall sewer, the Savannah City to Sebokeng, which will go into line F. Then the Eastern Diversion Sewer, that is the new river pump station. It's a small pump station that is done by Rasamati. It's situated basically south, close to the river. That's pump station 1. It's not too big, but that will pump to pump station 4, not to the Leeuwkuil wastewater treatment work. It must end up at Rietspruit. Just to show you, this is, I'm going to go out of the presentation now, just to show you the typical layout of the new pump stations. That is a screenshot of that. I'm just going to go out quickly. Can you see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, this is still looking at these. That it's not artifact. It's the ventilation pipes for the emergency overflow tank, which gives us at peak dry, the average dry weather flow, 4 hours of storage to react to any issues in the pump station. Then, just want to go, just a typical view, bragging a little bit, but not too much. The pump stations that have been designed is a full fortress pump station, 30 MPa concrete. The doors are 60 MPa. They're concrete doors, sliding doors that open on a slide to the left and the right. Even the pedestrian entrance is also one of those concrete doors. So that you try and get in there with a jackhammer, you're going to make a small hole, you're going to be busy for about a week just to open up.
Sorry, Vic, could I just ask a question about this? What is the cost of the, the civil engineering and the construction, excluding, the cost of the actual pump station, for this, per pump station, roughly?
Sorry, is it Maureen?
Yes, it's Maureen.
Maureen, can I just say something? I think we might run short of time. Can't you finish presenting, then we do all the questions afterwards so that we save time for other many items which you have on the agenda, if possible,
Okay.
Maureen.
Okay.
I will be getting to the cost just after this. No problem.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Also, just to show better, this is this underground sump, and this is the emergency overflow. Don't want to open dam. It creates a lot of nuisance in the areas where it sits. Then just want to go through these. I'll go a bit faster. This is just the inside. That's the gantry crawl beam to be able to remove the pumps and valves and whatever. This is the MCC entrance. This is the emergency overflow pond at the side. That's an overview. The truck come in there, load up. We've got our 2 wet wells. If there's a problem in one, we can operate in the other 2 and do maintenance. Also have pumps on site installed that can empty the one sump into the other. Any overflow into this automatically gravitates back into it as the pump starts operating. That's your main pumps section. We've got odor control here, and we've got your ventilation somewhere else. Then just the bottom, the pumps, and this is the manifold going to the top and the service area, and there is also a toilet and a office block in there, or an office in there. Okay, then I'm just going to go back to the presentation. Give me a second. There. Excuse me. Okay, next slide. Now, the SRSS overview of the refurbishment, we're looking at Leeuwkuil, Rietspruit, and Sebokeng. We just looked at the upgrades, but now we're going to look at the refurbishment. Then also Sigodi Mara Martin management support are doing 21 sewer collapse pipelines in the Mfuleni local municipality area and replacement of 19 sewer collapse pipelines in the same area. That's 2 contracts that they're busy with. The approach that was followed is basically from the inlet works to the pump stations, which is the conveyance system, and then from the inlet works parallel to that into the wastewater treatment works. Main pump stations going to the Leeuwkuil wastewater treatment works are the 34, 2, and 4, and then pumping into 2 is 10, 8, 7, and then 9 pumps into 8. So from the bottom up, doesn't help to repair this. It will just pump to here and then stand next to the R59 and the abattoir, and the sewage will lie there. So we need to start from the bottom up. Just a quick diagram. If there's structural failure, we need to do a rehabilitation upgrade. If there's no structural failure, we look at just refurbishment. If there's a capacity failure, then we need to do an upgrade, not we just do refurbishment. So just replacing like for like, if it doesn't need an upgrade, is basically what it comes down to. Then this is the Leeuwkuil wastewater treatment works. The inlet works needs to be done first. We're not going to do refurbishment on the existing biofilter system, although we're going to make sure that it does some partial treatment during the time of the upgrades. Then there's a 20 megaliter upgrade that, the 20 megaliter wastewater treatment works activated sludge plant must be refurbished. And a main concern is the security. And we need to look at security, else it will render the works not dysfunctional anyway. Wastewater treatment works here, just to show you the catchment. Pump station 2 doing the green area, pump station 4 the purple, and pump station 34 the blue. Pump station 2 there, this is a diagrammatical layout, and pump station 4 there, just to show you where it sits, and then proper layout. Pump station 34 is the screw pump station that I showed you on the grounds, which takes this main line and puts it into the inlet works. Pump station 2 sitting here to the inlet works, and then pump station 10 pumping to here with a gravity line to pump station 2. This line has completely collapsed and are currently out for award. The construction start is imminent. Then pump station 2's rising main is required, and then for the awards for pump station 2, 10, 8, and 9 I've seen the letters, so that should be starting shortly. Then in terms of unblocking, biosolids and unblocking, just to tell you that we are busy in the Leeuwkuil, Rietspruit, and Sebokeng areas. Since this is the inflow into the wastewater treatment works during that period, you can see that the Sebokeng catchment has increased and dropped again. The Rietspruit catchment increased. I think the inflow, the flow measurement is broken in this area, picked up again. But you can see from here that Leeuwkuil hasn't improved because it's solely dependent on pump stations and they haven't been looked at. Then just to quickly show you financial budget requirements, if we can start all the contracts now and get the resources for it and have all the budgets ready, this is what this is based on. We are looking at the following budgets required. This is the total budget that you can see here. July 22 to 23 financial year, and so on. What we are concentrating on, but also the rest, is to try and get the refurbishment done. So we are looking at Leeuwkuil area at these were the immediate actions to save money in terms of level control. So just to get pump stations going and making sure that we don't have to have trucks running and waste money for it. These are the budgets required for the refurbishment to render the whole system functional again. This is for the Rietspruit catchment here, and that is for the Sebokeng catchment. In total, we're basically looking at a budget for refurbishment of 1.3 billion. And for upgrade, we're looking at a total budget of 7.4 billion rand. Cash flow required, if we do it over the 4-year period, is not very practical, but we're looking at 160 million a month that needs to be spent at stages. This is about 25, 26 contracts running simultaneously, just to give you an idea. That's for the Leeuwkuil catchment. That's then for the Rietspruit catchment, for the Sebokeng catchment. Oh, and the blue is refurbishment, sorry, the upgrades, and then the green is the total. This is a total summary of all 3 catchments. You can look at those figures. And then from here, I would like to show you the master schedule, which has been done on MS Project. So just hopping from there, pulling it over. Okay. Going to try and keep it short. Leeuwkuil catchment, we're going to start with that. Now, for the Leeuwkuil catchment, we've identified what needs to happen first to make the best impact and maximize the stopping of the pollution. So, as I've said, we're looking at the inlet works first. There's the inlet works. It needs a wash water pump station, and at Leeuwkuil, there's no evidence of a wash water pump station. Your mechanical equipment's Achilles heel sits in the wash water pump station because it must be cleaned and with nozzles at high pressure. And that needs to have backup systems in place. So that's the first item, together with the inlet works, which is that item. Then we've inserted a perimeter fence because if our power cables are stolen, nothing will work. Then the existing pump station 34, which is not pumping at all at the moment, we're looking at that refurbishment to at least get the sewage flowing. And then its balancing dam to sort out any downtime and receive the wastewater so that pipeline 12 doesn't block up. Then we need to start with the construction of the new screw pump station, because that pump station is just a hole in the ground with a few pumps on it, and it's not going to last. It's also, we've put in a rock catcher to make sure that it doesn't reach the pumps and we take them out effectively. But that rock catcher will be retrofitted so that it can fit into the new pump station as well. And then your pipeline 12 over there. So I'm not going to hop back to the system, but if you can remember on Leeuwkuil, the gravity line 12 coming from the northwest down, that whole system is covered in this first section so that we can get the sewage to the treatment works. The next one looks at pump station 2 to get the sewage from the east. Now, firstly, we have to make sure that there's a rising main to pump into, and then refurbish pump station 2. So these two work hand in hand. And then also the gravity line from pump station 8 from pump station 10, the discharge to pump station 2 coming from the east. Once that's effective, pump station 2 won't cope. Pump station 2 currently has a 30 kilowatt pump in it. It should have 470 kilowatts in. It's not going to make it. And there's 2 rising mains. The one collapsed and the other one can only do half the flow. So after refurbishment, we will be able to handle the average dry weather flow up to the peak dry weather flow, but peak wet weather flows we won't be able to handle. So we need to get that rising main installed as well. Then, but not fruitless expenditure, that rising main will be the future rising main for the new pump station as well. Then construction of pipeline 8, gravity line pump station 10 to pump station 2, and that will complete the line. Then for pump station 7, 8, 3D currently to gravity feed to pump station 2, we need the collapsed line from pipeline 15 that comes from the north to the pump station. That's also required. It's collapsed and it doesn't do its job. Pump station 10 and 5 can then be refurbished or be commissioned. These, the sequence talks to more the commissioning. A lot of these things can be done in parallel, but the commissioning needs to be done in the right sequence. Then there's a pipeline 6, which is pump station 8's rising main, which is also collapsed. Mfuleni has got a big budget for that, just to replace it by putting a pipeline inside the steel pipe that's collapsed over the length to sort that out. Then we're looking at refurbishment of pumps of the 20 megaliter wastewater treatment works at Leeuwkuil to make that efficient or effective, and then the refurbishment of pump station 8 and pump station 4. And then 9, and all the pump stations will be looked at. Now I just want to get to the upgrade. There's a lot of pump stations. There's 43 pump stations in Leeuwkuil itself. Now, just to give you an idea of the cost of this, a new wastewater treatment works, kind of sit around about that. Maureen, to answer you, pump station 2 will have a capacity of 520 liters per second, head of 24.7 meters static head. Just the pump station was going to cost 220 million. Looking at pump station 8, new pump station, looking at that, construct new pump station 10 and the rising main. Those are both included, because you will remember that these rising mains are included at the top, is needed for refurbishment because those lines have collapsed and we don't want to put the old lines back because we need the new lines. Then also, if you look at pump station 5, that's the cost of that. That's the pump station and that's the rising main. Again, pump station 4, that's the transfer pump station. The rising main is quite a long rising main over that distance. It is 1,000 millimeter, it's a 1 meter diameter HDP PN16 pipeline. Then what makes it so expensive is the dolomitic areas. We need to make sure that the pipes that we can allow for those areas where the sinkholes can take place. Then, yeah, basically also included, that's now for all the upgrades which we have discussed. We've also got biosolids handling contracts running at the moment, and cleaning and unblocking of pipelines. Then there's a few outstanding items on the environmental impact assessment, just to show you this is what it covers and the timeframes of it. I'm just going to not go into that. Then there's outstanding designs for secondary and tertiary gravity lines if required. We just need to check them, but the main system has been looked at. SRSS, this is the design itself, not going into that. And then there's a water conservation, water demand management program that is also looked at. Then on the same principle, Rietspruit also, there's just running past that as well. That's the rehabilitation of the treatment works. That's the inlet works and perimeter fence. Then there's the main pipelines that needs to be refurbished to open up. And then the upgrades need to start ASAP because the works is under capacity. Looking at the upgrade of that, and then the lines that I've shown you, including pump station 41. Also EIA issues, biosolids handling, the same issues there, nothing new on there. Then Leeuwkuil catchment, the waste also needs to look at the inlet works, very important, and then the gravity lines to it, refurbishment, and then the upgrades, also biosolids handling and so on. Cleaning, upgrading, just want to see. Then there's the Rasamati 2 projects that I've spoken about, and the Leeuwkuil Zutari project for the treatment works is also in here, looking at the dates there. Then there's also what we've put in here, 2 mid-fall projects, which is the current Rothstein rising main, which has got it's almost completed. There's a few things still to be done. Then the Meyerton wastewater treatment works upgrade that must be restarted. Then what we've also got in here is Mfuleni MIG projects that have been coincided. The budgets are 0 here because some of them are included in the top, so we must still just sort that out so we don't take the other budgets. And then in terms of RAD water projects, they've got wastewater treatment works operations, wastewater treatment works maintenance, operation and maintenance service contracts, sustainability advocacy, and monitoring and evaluation that we're looking at. And then Sigori, Mara Martin, there are 2 packages that I've mentioned earlier as well for the pipeline smaller than 300 millimeter diameter, with which is the networks inside the Leeuwkuil area. Then going back to the presentation, I think we're done now. Just want to see the way forward. Basically, we are busy with this, but the actions have been identified as critical actions: refurbishment and upgrade items immediately, approval and availability of budgets according to the program requirements. To make a difference, we must try and get the budgets according to the program and not the other way around, reshuffle the program to fit the budgets, because it's going to be difficult to meet the non-pollution parameter that we're aiming at. Then the appointment, this has been done. There are mechanical and electrical contractors that have been appointed. I've just looked at the appointment letters. They are busy to look at the main pump stations. Then aggressive mobilization of contractors, site personnel, Randwater, Mfuleni, and DWS support teams. Required resources inclusive of equipment, tools, operation and maintenance teams, and then effective O&M communication, reporting, and feedback is required. And that is it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. A very detailed presentation. We can take questions and summarize our questions so that because after this, we've got another presentation, where's this charger system, which we have to quickly go through it quickly. So we can take questions so that we can move forward. The first one is from Mariette.
Mariette, okay. Can I come after Mariette?
Yeah, you can come through.
After Mariette.
After Mariette, yes.
Thank you very much. It was a very professional presentation. I think for some of us, we are heartened by the designs that have been completed for both the upgrades and also the refurbishment. May I just ask, the implementation of these designs or the construction of the upgrades and the refurbishment, will that be conducted then by the engineers that will or are appointed by GIBS? And then may I ask if I understood correctly that the implementation, that is the construction of the upgrades and the refurbishment, will take place over a period of 4 years, that is from 2022 to 2026. And it is my understanding that the contract with Randwater as the implementing agent will expire, well, it's a contract, I assume, for 3 years. So who will be the implementation agent following the cessation of the contract with Randwater? And then I also just want to ask regarding the finances. The budget, I assume, is 1.3 billion rand for the refurbishment and 7.4 billion rand for the upgrades. The Department of Water and Sanitation currently has an annual financial shortfall of 42 billion rand, that is annually. So may I just ask whether there is assurance that there will be sufficient funding available for the upgrades and also the refurbishment? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mariette. Maureen?
Oh,
Maureen, you can come through as well.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to ask, are there anything in the plans in terms of using battery power in the light of the situation with Eskom, and also the experiences that we have with the Mfuleni power, where at times there's been places that are off power for 3 weeks. So, power, energy is a very, very important aspect of this if we're not going to, have the river polluted. And then secondly, along those lines, is an emergency dam planned for Rietspruit? Because I understand that there hasn't been an emergency dam before. And then thirdly, with regard to the Mfuleni projects and the MIG projects, who is actually overseeing those, and particularly from the financial side? And then finally, where do you expect to be in terms of the refurbishment this time next year? These might be odd questions, but we've had experience of problems with budgets. And, as far as SAVE is concerned, we're delighted with the work that you have done. But we've seen that the other problems are finances and security, and certainly in terms of finances, that is why we are following a legal route. So we're actually your friends, not your enemies. We want to make sure, as much as you do, that this project reaches completion during the timeframes. So we want to help you there. Thank you. That's me for the moment.
All right, thank you, Maureen. I think those two we can get the response, Mr. Debate.
Yeah, that's questions that are basically on the battle to answer. We've done all the planning to date, and I know that DWS and Rand Water are busy. We've seen letters that come through for award of contracts, which has taken a long time, but it's finally on our doorstep. I'm just going to try and go according to what was asked first. The implementation will not happen in 4 years. As I said, we just wanted to draw a picture of, if we do it as efficient as possible and the budgets are readily available and there are enough contractors and everything is fine, it's going to take 4 years to complete the refurbishment as well as the upgrades. So I don't know if I've answered that question fully for you, Mariette. But the practical issues of procurement, getting the budgets ready, procurement, awarding the contracts, that's where we are sitting at this stage, and it is quite a challenge. As we all know, implementation is where everything falls flat if it's not properly planned. Maureen, in terms of battery power, we've designed everything with generator backup. In terms of battery power, it's quite big kilowatts that we're looking at. It will require quite a system if we're looking at solar power and battery power and all that. So we have designed it for the system to make sure that we will get our connections. But in terms of load shedding, the only backup we have in terms of power supply is the generator backup system. In Rietspruit emergency dam, yes, we have designed a peak flow. The peak flow that is allowed for in the Rietspruit wastewater treatment works from the peak factor of 2.8 can be handled by the wastewater treatment works with no problem, but the peaks do and will go over to about 3.4, so we've allowed for between those two figures. I'm not sure precisely who in Mfuleni is looking at the MIG budgets and the MIG implementation, so I cannot answer you there. And where we will be in 1 year's time, I've got no idea. It depends on this whole team working together and trying to overcome the period of the contracts have been defined not as emergency or disaster stage contracts, but accelerated contracts. So Rand Water will be evaluating the tenders, and that's what we're busy with, to get about 165 million of refurbishment contracts out, which is currently underway. The details thereof I don't have with me or haven't prepared to present it at this point in time. I don't know if I've answered all the questions, but it's a whole lot of questions which I don't really have answers to. I just needed to, yeah. I don't think that's not my. I'm the technical lead on the catchment designs and the implementation. Thank you.
Victor, just on thank you for that. Just on that point, you mentioned the 165 million. Is that for the current financial year, or is that a monthly figure? What is that?
That is what. Sorry, that was one of the packages from this. The total financial budget is 432 million
For this year.
Yes, for this year.
And so far there's 165 million worth of contracts sort of on the way, as it were.
No, there's more than that. It's just there's some by DWS, some by Rand Water, and I just need to pull up a spreadsheet, then I can give you a bit more detail on that. Although and I have to just, I don't know how much time you have. I just want to get to it from. Sorry, I'll be with you now. Okay. There are for the immediates now, that is for the Leeuwkuil Inlet Works, Pump Station 34, the Rising Main for Pump Station 2, the construction of the new Pump Station 34, and the wash water or the inlet works at Rietspruit. There's 167 million planned that we're looking at now in terms of tenders. We've just handed in those tenders and combined that as one tender for a big contractor. Then DWS activities, the gravity line from Pump Station 2 to Pump Station 2, there's 40 million allowed for that. Sorry, I want to sneeze, hold on. Then for Pump Station 2B, 8, 9, and 10, there's 70 million allowed for that. And all of that adds up to the 437 million that we're looking at.
For this year?
Yes, for this year.
So it's and the fund, is the funds there?
To my knowledge, yes. This is what we've been asked to plan in the most effective manner. This is basically the DWS allocation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Debet. I think further questions, as stakeholders, we can send them through your email so that you can give us some feedback on that. I know there will be many other